Hey guys, new video here. Now, if you've been paying attention to the market, Exalted Orbs have been soaring in price lately. Right now, they're trading at 180C per, and it might just keep going up, because honestly, there's not very good Xana mods, so what are we going to be using our chaos for anyways? Now, this can feel pretty bad if you don't have a strategy to specifically target Exalted Orbs. We're about 1.5 weeks into the league, and I have a feeling that most of us are at a point where our builds will need to spend Exalted Orbs to buy upgrades, because we're past the point where we can buy gear for Chaos Orbs. In this video, I'm going to be going over a farming strategy that will drop frequent and consistent Exalted Orbs. It's a strategy that uses materials that are very easy to bulk buy, and it is very cheap to execute as well, with a price ranging between 6 chaos to 15 chaos per map. The strategy we're using to get these Exalted Orb drops is farming a divination card. We're going for what I think is arguably by far the best divination card for Exalted Orbs, the Saint's Treasure. This card is so good in particular because each card is worth 1/5 of an Exalt, and we're able to drop quite consistently. So this is an extremely reliable way to farm Exalted Orbs, even for a casual player that wants to farm in short bursts, say after working a 9 to 5. We're going to be farming the Saint's Treasure on the Bazaar map as well as the Arcade map. These two maps are connected on the Atlas, which means map sustain is going to be trivial. The way I recommend map sustain is by speccing into singular focus, which gives us 200% more chance of favored maps dropping. For your favored map slots, you're going to want to have all of them favored on the one that you prefer running, except the final favored map slot needs to be for the other map. So for me, I have Bazaar selected 11 times and then Arcade selected for the 12th favored map slot. You need to do this in order to get both maps. I personally am able to over sustain Bazaar and I'm getting all these extra arcades. However, if you're not juicing as much as me, this will still be a reliable way to over sustain on both of the maps. So let's go over a brief overview of the concepts so we can apply this farming strategy to any Atlas tree. I'm going to go over how divination card drops are earned. Divination cards are earned through item quantity and mob count. Quantity will scale the amount of drops directly, and the number of mobs will give more chances to drop them. Now we should keep in mind magic monsters have a base of 600% quantity, and rare monsters have a base of 2,850% quantity. What this means is magic and rare monsters aren't affected as much by increases in quantity, say by rolling a map with like 100% increased quantity, or by using some Alice passes that give increased quantity. However, magic and rare monsters are affected a lot by the divination scarab, because the divination scarab is a more multiplier. So to apply this knowledge, a divination scarab is very useful for juiced maps because we're getting a really big multiplier on all these rare and magic monsters. However, if you don't have a lot of monster count and you don't have a lot of juice, it might not be worth the entry cost of paying a divination scarab. For my personal strategy, I always use 4 out of the following 5 scarabs when I'm going for Saint's Treasure div cards. The first one is Polished Breach Scarab, and with only a few Alice passives, this becomes a really huge source of magic monsters as well as just monsters in general. So we get a really big mob count, and this becomes a very good source of dropping divination cards. The next one is Polished Abyss, which you can also buy for 1 chaos in bulk. These spawn a ton of monsters of all rarities. I think this is probably the most powerful scarab you can get for increasing monsters, but the problem is you need to use a lot of Atlas passives as well. So I'm recommending this with the caveat that you will need to spec the Abyss nodes. The third one is Elder Scarab. It doesn't need to be polished. It can be any rarity. I would recommend this no matter what. It adds a lot of mobs and they're all very easy to kill. So just definitely use an Elder Scarab. The fourth one is Legion. You can also buy this for 1 chaos in bulk. So all 4 of these scarabs cost 1 chaos in bulk. Legion is a very good source of monsters with lots of rares. This is actually good for just simply dropping pure Exalted Orbs. It's also good for divination cards. It's just good in general. There's a lot of quant in Legion. You don't need any Atlas passives to run Legion. The Atlas passives are optional. Legion is kind of hard. So just, this is an option if you can do it. Now, the fifth one is something I always use, although it is optional and it depends on how much you juice your map. And it is the Polished Divination Scarab, which you can buy in bulk for 8 chaos each. Now, this is a more multiplier on divination cards, and I like to juice my maps, so it's a no-brainer for me. I'm going to get the divination cards much faster. I'm going to complete Saint's Treasure much faster. I personally think it's worth the cost, but if you want a lower investment strategy, feel free to pass on this. I would advise at some point or other just trying it, do like 20 maps with the divination scarab and just, so at least you get a feel of how much more you're getting. For the Xana modifier, I personally like to mod Domination for 4 chaos. That gives 4 shrines. I use the shrine nodes on the passive tree, and it makes mapping much safer, much faster. Some of these maps might not even be possible for me to do without the shrine buffs. The other alternative to this would be Breach for 2 chaos. I don't think I would recommend any of the other mods. And last but not least, don't forget to use 4 Sextants. It's night and day. The maps will feel bad if you don't have 4 Sextants. Sextants are 1 chaos each. Make sure you use 4 Sextants. All right, now let's move on to Sentinels because this is Sentinel League and we should probably incorporate them. Now, I haven't totally figured this out yet. What I'm using right now are the red and the blue Sentinels that give increased quantity. I'm not going out of my way to buy these. I seem to drop enough that I can just keep using this. The main thing to note with Sentinels, no matter what Sentinels you use, is do not buff Abyss monsters. They make these monsters so hard, they will probably one-shot you if you also are using the altars that make the game harder. So use the Sentinels on normal map minions, minions from shrines, just on whatever minions. Don't buff the Abyss monsters. We got to do a quick once-over of my Atlas passive tree before we wrap up this video. So for Breach, I have 3 nodes down here, just increases magic monsters a bit. This isn't important. The important node is right here where our breaches are more dense. Now for Abyss, I take all the nodes except for the 3 points to get Abyssal Socket. I just don't find that to be valuable at all. And you could argue that these 4 points for getting a 5 to 6 corrupted jewel are not worth it. That's just preference. I find it fun, so I spec these. Everything else is very important. Now, I'm doing Eldritch Gaze as well as Wrath of the Cosmos, and this does make maps pretty hard. You don't have to do it. I mean, it's just separate from this strategy. You can do it if you want. The important other nodes would be the shrines. Since I'm doing domination on every map, I want all the shrine nodes. And I do have all of the extra map nodes, the shaping skies, shaping mountains, and both of these. We're also doing singular focus, as I explained earlier. And to use singular focus, you want everything on Bazaar, or if you prefer arcade, everything on arcade, and then the last one on the other. And this is because Bazaar and arcade are connected, and connected map drops happen more frequently. I also have strongboxes spec'd, and it would be fine to use strongbox Scarabs, although those are 4 to 5C in bulk instead of 1C, so I don't see the value being as good as the 5 Scarabs that I recommended, although I don't think you're going to be losing money by running ambush Scarabs, so feel free to run those if you like running those, you know. Now again, to reiterate, I suggested Polished Breach for 1 chaos, Polished Abyss for 1 chaos, any Elder for 1 chaos. I like Polished Divination for 8 chaos, but you can also use Polished Legion for 1 chaos. These are my 5 recommendations. It's not set in stone, but it's what I'm running. Rolling maps. I use a regex code. I'll post it in the description. We want to chisel all of our maps. We alk. And this regex is pretty picky. I guess I don't really need this block thing here. Looks like we only got 2 good maps. See, did I get any beyond maps? No. Well, I was unlucky. I don't want to run any low pack size maps, and I also don't want to run cannot regen or lesser regen. But Scours and Alks are very cheap because Chaos is so worthless. So don't feel bad having to reroll quite a bit. This honestly doesn't cost very much. I'm not gonna finish all of them. And yeah, we can evolve them. And the ones that, some of them will get bricked. Like this one isn't really bricked, it's just a little bit worse. This one's a little bit worse. None of these are bricked, none of these have no regen. It's just they have a little bit lower pack size. Like if I changed my pack size to 22, I think those would highlight. At least 2 of them would. Alright, so let's roll in the maps. And last but not least, do not forget to use your sextants. The best ones are the ones that add more monsters. They're really cheap as well. Here, extra lightning monsters. Extra vol monsters. Extra monsters that heal. Extra fire monsters. I mean, there are like good sextants that are better, but these are very common ones, and they're exactly what we want. There's more mob count. I'm going to wrap this video up now. Hope you guys drop a lot of Saints treasures, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.